Welcome to the Curtain Boutique's tutorials. I'm Sandy and it's nice to have you on board today. We're going to do a tutorial where I'll be showing you how to do a buckram pleated heading. The heading is Cartridge pleats and you can make it into a curtain or a pelmet. But I'm going to show you how to actually make a pelmet today, incorporating these lovely pleats into the pelmet. So we've got this lovely fabric by Ian Mankin and it's called Stars, and it's a linen mix, but mainly 90% linen, and so it does give a bit of a creased effect, which is quite nice, quite natural looking. I've got a lovely edging to go on the bottom. So you lay that face side up and then you'll get your lining and you lay that face side down and take it to the selvage. And then what I've done here is I've taken this 10 centimetres smaller than the face, and that's going to give us our really nice edge at the side. Now we're going to pin the two edges together, the sides together. You can pin it any way you like, whatever you prefer. If I'm pinning it acrossways, it tends to stabilise it a bit better, but it's entirely up to you. And then you go to the other side, which obviously is the side where there's less lining. And always start at the bottom of the pelmet. Right, first of all we're going to just find the centre of the fabric. So if we bring the two seams together and then put a little tiny snip with your small scissors and then turn everything around the right way. And then just do the same on the lining. So two seams together, snip the lining corner, very tiny amount. And now we are going to turn the blind inside out. and bring the two triangles together. So let's get on there. I'll pop a pin in there, and then the rest of it, you pull the seam sort of like inwards towards the centre, and the same this side. Pop the seam, make sure it's facing towards the centre. And then we're just going to make sure everything's all lined up nicely along the bottom. So when you pull it back, you'll be left with the back with a really nice little turn in before you come to your seam, which looks rather nice. So what you're going to do now is pin along the bottom of the whole pelmet. So now we're going to go to the machine and we're going to do 5/8 of an inch seam along the bottom. Right, so now we're going to turn it inside out, but firstly go to the corners, like you would a duvet. Probably give this a bit of a snip actually, but be careful you don't snip into the stitching. So open up that corner, and also you can use your scissors, but be very careful. Just use the scissors to get a really perfect point. And then get the other side, do the same thing again. Take this corner off. It just gives you a nicer corner when you snip it off. There's no bulk, you know. And then get your scissors again, very carefully. The amount of accidents I've had, oh dear. Tell you some stories I could. Turn it around to the lining side, face up, and then you can see what I'm doing here. And then I can give you a bit more of a close-up. So make sure it's like this. You've got a very tiny amount showing, and then that way you're not going to see any lining. You don't do that because you might see the lining then, but keep it just a little bit slightly over the actual fabric. Right, so I've just cut some buckram. This is the stiffener for the heading. And with this pelmet, I'm going to be making cartridge pleats, which are very, very contemporary looking, quite minimalistic kind of look, quite in. I'm just going to quickly pin it. I mean, I know it's very small and it probably won't move, but just so that you know this is really what you should do so it doesn't move. And obviously the pins are going to come straight out, but I'm just going to turn this around so that I have the top facing me. Let's check what we've got here. We've got 15, so I'm gonna probably do the pelmet to 12 inches, I think. So I'm going to turn the top over and then do my measurement, which, oops, see, sometimes you have to take the pin straight out, as I said. I just didn't want it moving while I turned it around. No, get down, Kitty. Look at this. We have Kitty, and watch that iron. She always gets on my work, don't you? You're a naughty little kitty, aren't you? She's a kitty, but her name is Kitty. We did call her Twilight, but I just kept calling her Kitty, so it stuck, didn't it? Right, so that's all nice and pressed. And then we pull this back, take our pins out, and then we've got our line here. I've cut the buckram already. It's a 5-inch buckram, depending on what size pelmet you're doing, but I mean mostly pelmets will take about a 5-inch, or a 6-inch, whatever sort of size. If you're doing nice long cartridge pleat curtains, then you'd use a really nice deep buckram. But for this, we're on a 5-inch. So you put your buckram in, side your, and make sure it's on the line, crease line. Couldn't be any more easier than that. If you can't get a good crease line on your fabric, then I would suggest you pin it and then put the buckram in line with your pins. So we turn this over. Now I am going to insist that you pin this bit or even tack it, whatever you prefer. You can always take the tacks out afterwards, but make sure that you're right up against the crease. Right, now make sure that when you're bringing your lining up, you bring it up to literally sort of ½ centimetre, if that, and make sure that that's flat and it's curling round so you can see a little bit of the face. Basically, you want to see the same amount at the top that you've got at the bottom, sort of. And then as you go, give it a press. I always start from the middle, because if you start from one side to the other, it might get a bit sort of like puckered, and you don't want that. That's a bit tricky. Then you've got to ease things in. So it's always a good idea to start from the middle to the side and then back the other way. Right, so that's all ready to obviously be sewn up, but obviously we have to take the pins out. Right, so now you're going to pin on the top where the lining is. Now you can go along and machine the top if you're confident at machining. If you want a more professional look, I would say hand sew. But because we're concentrating on headings today, I'm not going to hand sew. I'm just going to machine it through. Right, so now we've got our fabric all sewn at the top, which, you know, can't really see, but usually I would hand stitch it. So we measure the width of what we've got, and I make that 116 centimetres. And we have to deduct from this our returns. Now, returns are the return that goes around the pole or around the board, and I'm making each side 8. And this side, I mean, if you were doing curtains, this would be the overlap in the centre. And you always take off those first so that you are left with a bit of ease in your curtains. But with a pelmet, it's slightly different. So mostly you put it on a board and it will kind of look like this, you know, with the pleats in the middle sort of thing. So we've taken off our two sides of 8 centimetres and we're left with 100 centimetres. And we have to sort of work out that mostly you get between 4 and 5 pleats out of the width, depending on what pleat you're doing. Now, because I'm doing cartridge pleats, they don't take very much. I'm only using 9 centimetres for each pleat. So I'm guessing that I can probably get about 5 pleats out of this width. So a rule of thumb, 4 or 5, and go with those measurements and see how you end up. But it is a bit tricky, so if any of you have any trouble with this, just give me a buzz and I'll help you sort it out. But basically I'm saying that I'm going to do 5 pleats at 9 centimetres, so 5 9s, 45 centimetres. So that's how much I'm taking off for pleats. So I then deduct the 45 centimetres from the 100 centimetres. Then I'm left with 55 centimetres for my spaces. So basically we've got 4 spaces and 5 pleats. So with the 55 centimetres that we have, we divide that by 4 and we're left with 13.7 for our spaces. So this is how we lay it all out. I basically get my ruler and I pop a pin in where it says 8 centimetres, because that's what I'm doing, like return, and then I carry on. I'm now going to do a pleat, so I'm going to do 9 centimetres. You want to come around here, Annabelle, so you can see it better. Mm-hmm. So see, so we've got the 8, 9, then we're going to do the 13.7, which is, if I had my glasses on I could see better. Annabelle did just say, go and get your glasses, Mum, go and get your glasses. So we've got 13.5 there, okay. Then we go back to our 9. And we pop a pin in where the 9 is. And then we do 13.5. So what we're going to do now is turn this over to the lining side, and then we're going to put pins together. Come over here now. Along the side, keep the top very straight, and marry the pins together like this, yeah. And then give this a little bit of not too much, because you don't want it indenting itself, because you want this to be nice and round eventually. Go to the bottom of the buckram and get a pin and pop it in sort of round about in line with this pin, and that will hold that in place. So that's your first pleat. Then you go to the next one, the same again. Keep that all very straight at the top. This is exactly how you do curtains. So that's going to be what it will look like. Obviously it's got to be sewn, but you can sort of see it's taking shape. So now we're going to sew it on the machine, and then I'm going to put something along the bottom. Okay, so we'll go on to the next step. So I'm going to start sewing the pleats. Now this is quite a tricky bit, so probably the most tricky part of the whole thing. So we've got the 2 pins together. Now you could do a very light line with a marker that will come out, which I would probably recommend you do, but obviously I've done it quite a lot, so I'm not going to bother with that. But what I do is I just take one of the pins out, and I just kind of see with my eye and just stick a pin kind of in line with this one, so I can sort of see this is where I'm going here. But obviously if you're not experienced, then you know, put a little marker in. Now my pin has marked this, so I'm just going to pop the needle down in a bit. I'm not going to go right to the end, I'm going to go where my stitch line is at the top, so it's about 1 centimetre, and then make sure the presser foot's down. Now I'm going to start with a backspace, then forward. Take it gently, because if you've got buckram in here, you know, your machine might not be used to it, or so I've got my pin mark there, so I'm going to follow that pin mark, and then I'm just going to eye it. I mean, obviously if you've marked it, it will be much easier for you to do that. So you get to where the buckram ends, you can see the line of the buckram. If you don't, obviously you've got your pin anyway in there. So then you go back, and that just secures it, and that is it. It's your first pleat. Take that out, and take your cotton off. Remove the cotton. And I should be wearing my glasses. I don't know where they are. Could be in my bag actually, because I took them to my shop, because I've got a shop which I've closed. Obviously everyone's closed. Don't know how it will do, what will happen, but we all have to just stay positive and try not to worry. Not much we can do. Oh, I just think they look beautiful, these little pleats. They're so sweet. And then obviously you put your hook at the back, and that's how you'll fit it. You can actually fit them to poles as well, and then have a track underneath. So let's do another one, just to show you, and then I'll speed it up and show you what it's like at the end. So put another pin in halfway down, take that pin out, follow my pin little indentation that I've got there, backwards, forwards. Take the pin out, follow my indentation, going straight. Take it very slowly because, you know, it's a bit... If I was doing this at work, I'd have it done really quick because I've got an industrial machine which is very strong and very fast. So I wouldn't be worrying about whether my needle can cope with the buckram. But obviously, because I'm on this domestic machine, I haven't done an awful lot of domestic stuff from work on this machine. So I'm just taking it a bit steady myself, to be honest. But so we've done another pleat. It's nice and straight along the top. You can't really see the stitching, but obviously press that down, open it up like this, like that, and then open it down the front. You can put your finger in here if you need to sort of get it nice and sort of flat. And you've done that one. And we have another cartridge pleat. So I'm going to start sewing the pleats. Now this is quite a tricky bit, so probably the most tricky part of the whole thing. So we've got the two pins together. Now you could do a very light line with a marker that will come out, which I would probably recommend you do. But obviously I've done it quite a lot, so I'm not going to bother with that. But what I do is I just take one of the pins out, and I just kind of see with my eye and just stick a pin kind of in line with this one, so I can sort of see this is where I'm going here. But obviously if you're not experienced, then, you know, put a little marker in. Now my pin has marked this, so I'm just going to pop the needle down in a bit. I'm not going to go right to the end. I'm going to go where my stitch line is at the top, so it's about 1 centimetre, and then make sure the presser foot's down. Now I'm going to start with a backspace, then forward. Take it gently, because if you've got buckram in here, you know, your machine might not be used to it, or so I've got my pin mark there, so I'm going to follow that pin mark, and then I'm just going to eye it. I mean, obviously if you've marked it, it will be much easier for you to do that. So you get to where the buckram ends. You can see the line of the buckram. If you don't, obviously you've got your pin anyway in there. So then you go back, and that just secures it, and that is it. It's your first pleat. Take that out. And take your cotton off. Remove the cotton. And I should be wearing my glasses. I don't know where they are. Could be in my bag actually, because I took them to my shop, because I've got a shop which I've closed. Obviously everyone's closed. Don't know how it will do, what will happen, but we all have to just stay positive and try not to worry. Not much we can do. Right, so we've done one pleat. Now obviously this is linen and every little pleat shows, so I did crease it a little bit there. So for now I will just keep that flat, and that will be how it will look. I will press this out, but if you can see, it's like little kind of toilet rolls. No, that's a horrible thing to say, isn't it? A toilet roll. No, not toilet rolls. Just little rolls. Just little lovely little. Oh, I just think they look beautiful, these little pleats. They're so sweet. And then obviously you put your hook at the back, and that's how you'll fit it. You can actually fit them to poles as well, and then have a track underneath. So let's do another one, just to show you, and then I'll speed it up and show you what it's like at the end. So put another pin in halfway down, take that pin out, follow my pin little indentation that I've got there, backwards, forwards. Take the pin out, follow my indentation, going straight. Take it very slowly because, you know, it's a bit. If I was doing this at work, I'd have it done really quick because I've got an industrial machine which is very strong and very fast. So I wouldn't be worrying about whether my needle can cope with the buckram. But obviously because I'm on this domestic machine, I haven't done an awful lot of domestic stuff from work on this machine. So I'm just taking it a bit steady myself, to be honest. But so we've done another pleat. It's nice and straight along the top. You can't really see the stitching, but obviously press that down, open it up like this, like that, and then open it down the front. You can put your finger in here if you need to sort of get it nice and sort of flat. And you've done that one. And we have another cartridge pleat.
Yay!
So, I mean, look how lovely they look. They look so pretty, especially with the stars. I just think they look really
Cute,
stylish and lovely. Okay, so I'm going to carry on, but I will speed this up so that you don't have to watch it all and sit around for absolutely ages. Okay guys, so now I've pleated everything up, got it all ready. All I'm going to do now is put a few little stitches in the top just to hold it in place. So I shall do one little stitch a centimetre in and then another one another centimetre in. So if you imagine, it'll just stop them from moving and sort of looking silly, you know. Once they're all nice and flat and they're stitched, they're not going to move and it will just look really lovely. I will show you how to do one of my stitches. a knot. You have to do a knot. I'm just so used to doing knots. So I'm going to go inside first because I've got no, actually I'm going to do on the outside of the pleat. So we just go in about 1 centimetre. In fact, go at an angle so that you're like this. See, just slightly at an angle, come out, and then move that flat. Put your cotton over, and you've got it in 1 centimetre. So just do a couple of over stitches. I'm going to do about 4. So not a couple, 4. Make sure you've got a little loop here because that strengthens it as well. Another loop. One more, that's it. Okay, so I've done 1. Now I'm going to go under there, under the fabric, and then out the other end, sort of thing, like that. I don't have to do another knot then, and it's gone under. I do another one. Notice my cotton has come undone very slightly at the top, so I'm going to show you how I will rectify that, because that's not a good sign, and I don't know what happened there. You see, even the people who've been doing it a long time have problems sometimes. So what I will do here is go under there, into the fabric, not the pleat, and go to where the problem is, and then I will over sew a few stitches here to strengthen that, because that is not looking good. Keep your stitches very small if you can. It's quite difficult when it gets a bit bulky, but right, that has now strengthened that, so I'm happy with that. Let's check all the others. Oh yeah, they're all okay. It was just that particular one. Don't know what went wrong there. This is what happens when you use a domestic machine. It's not as strong as the one that you use, you know, your industrial one when you're doing it for a living. So now I'll just go along and do all these little stitches all the way along. Right, and this is the lovely trim that I've chosen for the bottom. It's this lovely bobbles, and it matches the blue star. I've sort of pinned a little bit on just to show you how I would pin it, and I'm going to do it by hand. You can do it by machine, but you've got to get the right colour cotton and be very gentle with it. I'm not sure how. I'm sure it'll be fine actually. Yeah. Right. So what I've already done is turned it under, like just a tiny bit there at the end, leaving the bobble on the very end, and then I've gone in here with with knotted cotton, slip stitched across the corner, slip stitched to here, and I'm just going to now show you which stitch I'm using. So I've gone round, so it's all been slip stitched across there and to here, and now I'm just going to show you how I do it. So I go into the actual fabric but not through to the lining, so it's like that, and you don't see the needles, you just go through. And now I've just lost my cotton, my thread out of the needle.
5 years later.
I will clip this bit, don't worry. I should have my glasses and I can't see a bloody thing.
Where are your glasses?
Oh, that's better now that the sun's come out. Right, so carry on picking up a bit of the blue, the trimming, and careful you don't clip your thread onto the little pom-poms. Then you go under again and then through the blue. And I'm going to take this pin out through the fabric and pick up the blue. And it is a bit tricky because it, you know, especially when you're at the end, you're going round the bobbles and pick up the ends, and oh, it's a right nightmare sometimes. It gets all caught. Oh, look at, see, this is what happens. Oh, and now I've actually gone around that bobble, so I'm gonna, so that's how you do it. Anyway, yeah, carry on. And once you get past the end, you get on sort of like a bit of a roll. You start to pick up speed and starts to get a bit easier, she says. Okay, so that's what you do basically all the way along. And when you get to the other end, you'll sort of turn this in. So you've got that end. I've worked it out so this is on the end. So you'll sort of come to here, you'll carry on picking up, and then you'll get to the very end and you'll go round the corner, picking up that until you get to the end, push it through and then over sew it a little bit here at the end, and then cast off, and that will be it done. I just think it looks really pretty with this on the end. Now if you want to ask me any questions, feel free, send me a message and I'll do the best I can. But for now, thank you for watching this tutorial and I'll speak to you all soon. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button for more tutorials.